Hello. In this topic, we will see how to access the SAP HANA server and we will take a walk around the SAP HANA Studio. So as you see, this is my desktop. It's a Windows machine and we are going to log into the HANA server using a remote desktop connection. Your remote desktop connection is available from start, and if you go to all programs and accessories, you will be able to see a remote desktop connection right about here. So you can click on that. Now it's asking for an address to which you need to connect. So I have my address already and you need to authenticate yourself. So you can give your username and password and you can say OK. Now it's actually connecting to the remote desktop. This is a certificate for security and a validation. So just say OK. This is your remote desktop which we have connected from our local computer. This is a Windows machine again. As we have mentioned in the previous topic, this is the place where your SAP HANA Studio and the client are sitting. The Linux box is in another computer. Okay. So as you see the HANA Studio icon here. You can access the HANA Studio from here. You can also access HANA Studio from, if you go to start, and you can either find it in the used icons or you can go to all programs and you can go to SAP HANA as well. Alright. Now some other tools which we did not mention in the previous topic are data services which we have in the server to connect to different data sources. We also have the SAP logon to log into your SAP ERP system. We will discover more tools as we go along, and I'm just taking one step at a time, just not to overwhelm you. So don't be surprised if you see more tools on the way. Now let's take a look at how to access your SAP HANA Studio. Now you can simply double click on it and it'll open up the SAP HANA Studio for you. So this is your studio which is opening up. Just give it a second. Voila, this is your studio. But you will not find it like this the first time you do it. So let me show you how this will look the first time we do it. This is how it's going to look the first time you install your studio and you open it. So this is an Eclipse based platform where SAP has written a plugin for you to be able to work on SAP HANA. Now these are the different perspectives you can enter into the SAP HANA Studio. Let's go with the Open Modeler. When you click on the Open Modeler, this is the first screen you will see. Now immediately we can find out that there are a set of views. So we have the systems views right about here. Then we have the quick view right about here. And then we have the where used list right about here. And then we have properties and we have job log. This is just to familiarize you with what views you have. Okay, let's take a closer look at the views. The systems views is a very important view because it contains your SAP HANA system. Now this is the server which we are connected, which is sitting on the Linux box. Shortly I will show you how to connect to a server. For now, let's assume that we don't have this. And you can be connected to multiple servers. For example, you can be connected to your dev, test, and prod, or different instances of your server, or different users. All of those will be listed in the systems view. The quick launch is a summary of all the most used functionalities for easy access and to make the developer's job a little bit more easier. The job log is an important area where we see all the job logs when you activate your models or when you provision your data from an Excel or things like that. You will see the progress and you will see the success or failure in this particular area. And if it has failed for whatever reason, you will be able to investigate from here. Properties is general, so you will get the properties of a table, of a model, of whatever artifact you're working at that point in time. Now let's go and connect to a system. So how do we do that? It's very simple. You can click on add a system right about here. So you can click on add a system. Now, if you noticed, I already have a system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into the system as a different user. So let me provide the host name. So you need to give the host name. For me, it is right about here. And you need to provide the instance number, which is 07. And then you can say next. In this window, you see that we have to authenticate ourselves to access the server. Now you can authenticate yourself with the operating system user, which is the Linux system. Generally, we don't enter the system using these credentials. The next option is we authenticate by the database user. So database user is somebody who has access to the database. You need to give your username and password. And you just need to say next. Right before we do that, you please notice that we can also use SSL and we can also use HTTPS. For now, we're not going to use it because it requires additional configuration. Right now, just continue with normal authentication. Voila. Our system has been added. So what you can see here that the system has been added. Now it looks like this when you collapse it. So when you expand it, you will see all these different folders below it. Now let's take a look at what these folders are in a brief fashion. Now remember how we were talking about SAP HANA is a database, and then we spoke about how it is a little bit more than the database, and it's a platform where you can do modeling and you can build applications and also host them. So the first part, the database part, is all stored in your catalog. So when we say database, we're talking about physical tables. These are the tables where the actual data is stored. So let's open it. When you open the catalog, you have a set of schemas. These are called as schemas or sub databases if you want to correlate with the other database terminology. Now let's take a look at what these schemas have. Now the most important folder here is the tables folder, because here's where all the tables are existing. So I have only one table, which is called the Mara table, but in a normal schema you can have as many tables as you like. Apart from the tables folder, we also have folders to store different artifacts which you create on top of the tables. For example, if you create a trigger, your triggers will be stored in the triggers folder. So this is pretty much your database and all the artifacts regarding your database. Now let's take a look at the second folder, which is called the content folder. Now content folder is when we want to create the views on top of your physical tables. We mostly will use views to create models and eventually for the reporting purpose. So we have to create them, and for that we have to come to the content folder. Let's open content folder and see what is inside. For better comprehension, let me try to filter it to a certain set of packages. So these are the packages. Now you can imagine that these packages are like folders, and these folders have a set of artifacts. Let's try to open one. So if you open the package, you have subfolders. One is the attribute view, second is the analytical view, and third is the calculation view. We'll see more about these views in the later topics. Couple of more things which we have here are analytical privileges, procedures, and decision tables. So these are all the objects which you can create in a package, and obviously you can create a package inside a package as well. So all of our modeling artifacts are going to live inside these packages. These packages don't have any data in them. So these are just XML views which you create. Let's take a look at provisioning. Provisioning is to configure your smart data access. This is to create virtual tables. We will take a look at this a little bit later. Security folder is where you have the users and the roles, and you can also provide the security policies and things like that. But let's take a look at the users. So these are different users we have on this database, and these are different roles we have on the database. Some of these roles are default roles which comes with the installation, and you can always create a role. We will see more about security in the security topic. So this is pretty much what we have inside a system, and you can configure this by customizing your view to see only what you want to see. For example, if you're not an administrator and if you're not a database modeler, then you can remove content and administration and only work with the database. Currently, we are in the SAP HANA modeler perspective. There are different perspectives to suit different activities. For example, we are currently assuming that we are a modeling architect or a modeler who is working on models. If you are a developer working on development scenarios, like working on an application or creating an application, then you'll be working on the SAP HANA development perspective. So this is slightly different from SAP HANA modeling perspective. So this is the SAP development perspective, and this has three different areas. One is the project explorer, repositories, and systems. And just to show you a small example, we can probably open up a file and see that you'll be able to write your HTML and JavaScript and things like that. We'll be spending most of our time in the SAP HANA modeler perspective. So you can also find yourself in this kind of a situation. So what you got to do is you got to go to Windows and then hit reset perspective. Voila, you're back to square one. Okay, now let's take a look at the administration console itself. Double click on your system. So this gives you a snapshot of your database itself. Things like which version and what is the start time of your database, and what are the current capacity thresholds of your database in terms of use memory and CPU usage. It also gives you a snapshot of the alerts. So this is just a dashboard kind of a layout to get you started with your current status of your database. If you want to dig into details, you can obviously go to performances, for example. You can go to alerts, for example, and take a look at more detailed information. We will take a look at this in a later topic, and we will see what is inside the SAP HANA administration console and what you can do with it.